Hello, everybody. I'm going to share a very special presentation with you called Perio and Paragraphs Becoming Published as a Dental Professional. My name is Bethany Montoya, and I'm a practicing dental hygienist based out of Fort Worth, Texas. And I also serve the industry as a writer, an editorial director through Dentistry IQ. I help to oversee their daily newsletter called Through the Loops. I also serve on the advisory board for RDH Magazine. I'm a key opinion leader within the industry, and currently I am completing my bachelor's degree in dental hygiene, which is actually the purpose of this presentation that I'm sharing with you right now. So I hope that you'll join me. As an introduction, I just want to share that there are over 750,000 dental professionals in the United States. That's a lot. And I don't know if I really realized what kind of number we were working with as far as dental professionals in our country, but that's nearly a million people, guys. Only a small number have experienced the privilege of being published in a professional source. And while there are a variety of reasons why more clinicians have not experienced this career advancing achievement, it's my opinion that most professionals simply lack an awareness of the opportunities available to them, as well as the confidence needed to successfully execute a written piece. So let's talk about the main goals and objectives from this presentation. I really want you as an individual to develop an understanding of the importance of being published and become equipped with the knowledge and the resources necessary to pursue your own professional writing experience if you choose to. The objectives that we'll be covering today include recalling 2 benefits of becoming published as a dental professional, listing 5 common personal and occupational barriers to becoming published, identifying 3 common types of dental publication sources, recognizing 3 steps one can take to prepare for the writing process, and naming the 3 main components of a writer's concept map. So in other words, my main goal for this presentation is to educate you on not only the importance of published writing, but how accessible it is, and help to equip you with the tools that you need so that you can take on this journey if that's where your heart leads you. So, one of the first benefits that a person can experience by becoming published are the benefits of being published for themselves. Um, Confidence is a huge thing that a person can boost by becoming published. It's a very special feeling. Being able to put your work out there for thousands of people to read is a very rewarding experience that I wish more people would. There's also recognition that comes along from your colleagues. When the more that you put yourself out there and your work becomes published, people start to really become familiar with your name. You're also able to boost your resume or your CV by including in there that you're a published writer. It also allows for career advancement opportunities. And just a side note, I am a personal testament to this. I started writing a little over 2 years ago, and really everything that I'm doing outside of the operatory at this point has stemmed from my experience with writing. So I'm very passionate on this topic, and I really want to help more people experience it as well. Writing's also a way for us to express ourselves. Studies actually show that writing serves as a creative outlet to improve our mental health. They did some studies back in 2020 during the big COVID pandemic when it first hit us all, and they found that many people who were battling issues with their mental health experienced a huge increase in their mental health through writing. There are also benefits for the industry when a person chooses to become published. It helps us to develop the profession. So if we don't have enough professionals coming forward to share their written pieces and their research, it really stifles the growth that the dental profession can experience. It also helps us to improve individual patient care and overall public health by being able to share new information and technology. It's stuff that we all read, and that's how we guide and we base our daily patient care off of. It helps us to meet the need for clinical research and access to clinical information, and the formal educational content that we use for textbooks in dental and dental hygiene schools. They're all based off of published works. It also helps us to raise the standard of healthcare as a whole. In dentistry, one of our main goals is to be integrated with the medical field. And I truly believe that if more people would come forward with written work that becomes published and we can share, especially information on how our oral health affects our overall systemic health. These are the types of things that are going to help propel our industry and our profession into the direction we want it to go. So, why aren't more professionals published? Good question. um, the first reason that you'll see on there is a fear of criticism or rejection. Now, I'll say from personal experience, this kept me from writing for a long time. It's a very vulnerable position that you put yourself in by sharing your written work for thousands of people to read. And because of this, some people just they're not willing to put themselves in that level of vulnerability. Another reason that somebody might choose not to become published is a lack of time. I mean, we're busy people. If we're not working full-time clinically, most of us have busy personal lives with family and loved ones, hobbies, things like that. Limited writing and submission skills. And again, that's coming from personal experience as well. I didn't feel like I had adequate writing skills, and that kept me from wanting to put myself out there to become published. A lack of funding, many times that's talking about clinical studies, difficulty starting the process. So, just that classic writer's block, just not really knowing where to even start. A lack of confidence. Again, so many people don't feel like they have the skills, the knowledge, or the know how to be able to start the writing process. And just an overall lack of awareness. And again, I can say from personal experience that the first 10 years of my professional life after graduating from dental hygiene school, I just didn't even know what the submission process was like. I didn't know what the requirements were from writers, and I also didn't know how accessible writing is to any clinician. So let's talk about common types of dental publication sources. So when we're talking about ways a professional can be published, some of them may feel kind of straightforward and common sense to you. Some of them may be a little bit of a surprise. So probably one of the most straightforward ways a person can become published is through a book. Even though I feel like regular paper books have become a little bit less popular over the years, it's a great way to become published. And I would say too, if that's on your heart to write a book, I don't think there's a better time than the present to be able to pursue something like that. I've know so many people who have chosen to move forward with writing a book by becoming published on Amazon, where you're really not having to front a lot of the financial resources that used to be required to be able to move forward with publication. Textbooks would be another way that a person can become published. Also, academic and trade journals. Those are very popular ways for people to become published. You can become published in government reports and legal documents, press releases and advertisements, websites, blogs, and social media pages. And I did want to make sure to include that in here because I don't think a lot of us really think about the fact that when we post something on social media, it is a formal way of being published. And it's actually a big reason why a lot of employers, when they're considering a candidate for a position, they'll research that person on their social media account. And so we already know the importance of maintaining G-rated positive posts on our social media. So what is required for a person to become published? Most professional sources do require credentials that communicate a contributor's experience in the area they're writing on. So, for example, if I decided that I wanted to become published in some sort of publication source that focuses on automotive engineering, I'm going to have a hard time passing the screening with the publication source because I'm a licensed dental professional and I really don't have any kind of training or credentials that presents me as any kind of authority on automotive engineering. So when it comes to dentistry, most of your major publication sources are going to require that you obtain some sort of degree that's relevant to your area of expertise. So, for a dental hygienist, that would be at least an associate's degree. For a dentist, it would be your doctorate degree. A professional license is another thing that's going to really help you to become published. If you're an actively practicing dental professional, you're definitely going to have some career experience that will carry you as you're communicating with your audience in your written piece. And again, this kind of goes into working experience. If you're actively practicing, actively caring for patients, you have unique experience that's worth sharing with your audience. Now, some sources may have additional requirements. So, for certain association publications like the American Dental Association or the American Dental Hygiene Association, they may require that their contributors have an active membership with their association in order to be published with their source. And some other publication sources may also require some very specific degree standards. They may require some advanced degrees that maybe the average clinician doesn't hold. So preparing to write. Now, this is something that I thought long and hard about because I do think that knowing where to start writing for the dental professional is a difficult place to be. So, my first suggestion is to decide on what topics you're really passionate about. You know, if you really don't have a heart for I don't know, periodontal disease, although I hope that you do as a dental professional. But if that's not on your heart to write about, I really would not recommend that you choose that as your topic to write on, because if your heart is not in it, you're going to have a very hard time motivating yourself to continue on with the written piece, with the research that's involved, and just taking the time to actually write the article. So, my advice would be to sit down with a pen and a paper, maybe a notebook, and come up with a small list of some topics that just light you up inside. They give you a burst of energy and they excite you when you think about sharing that information with others. My second tip would be to identify your target audience. Now, I think that that's really important when we're talking about, if you're trying to speak to a group of dental hygienists versus a group of dentists, or even within the dental realm. We have publications that are geared more toward clinical practice of dentistry, and then we have other publications that focus on the business management side. And so you really have to know your audience. My third suggestion is to research the writers or the submission guidelines with that particular publication. So one thing that I really appreciate with the family of publications available through Endeavor Business Media, which is Dental Economics, Dentistry IQ, RDH Magazine, the Perio Implant publication as well, is they provide very clear, straightforward submission guidelines on their website for contributors to refer to so that they feel confident putting together their information to submit to the publisher. My fourth recommendation is to even contact the editor to present your idea to them. And again, on many publication websites, when you look through their submission guidelines, they usually will list contact information for the editor. And so I would go ahead and take the initiative and get in touch with the editor, introduce yourself, let them know these topics that you're passionate about and how you want to communicate those to your audience. And the editor can partner with you to not only make sure that your written piece is going to be acceptable for them to publish, but it's really going to accomplish your end goal of communicating the right information to the right people. The next thing that you'll want to do is establish a due date. So this is something that your editor can help you with because they likely will have some sort of content calendar that they're providing all of their content to be published by. And so they likely will be able to let you know what date they'll need your written piece by so that they can make sure to commit it to a particular issue or timeline. My next suggestion is to plan the framework for your written piece. Now, we're going to cover this in the next step here, but I'm a big believer in planning a written piece. If you go to sit down in front of your computer and you don't really have a plan or direction for where you want your written piece to go, you are going to have a difficult time putting it together in a way that's clear. And then my last suggestion is to go ahead and get started. So, on the note of being able to have an organized piece and having direction with your piece, one tool that I would highly recommend to anybody, whether you have years and years of writing experience or this is your very first piece that you're starting to put together, is to design a concept map. So, a concept map, you may have learned this in middle school, maybe, but a lot of us forget about these simple things. A concept map is a visual illustration of the direction that you want your written piece to go in. And what I like about using a content map is it really helps you to gain clarity on the specific points that you want to make in your written piece so that there is a consistent direction to your information and the paragraphs flow into each other and your main points. They have a familiar theme to them. And these are the things that are going to help to make sure that you're effective in communicating the information to your audience that you wish to communicate. So, another thing that I would say too, just to back up a little bit, is when you're looking at choosing a topic, many publications for the industry, they go off of survey information from their readers. So for instance, RDH Magazine, they issue a yearly survey to their readers to ask them what kind of content they're looking for when they read RDH Magazine. And last year, when they performed this survey, most of the respondents said that they really want clinically based information, research based articles. They're looking for pieces that they can use to improve their patient care when it comes to the clinical setting. And they're interested in things like case studies and pieces on pathology. So this is also really important to know when you're trying to put together a written piece. And another really important reason why you should contact that particular publication source's editor so that they can guide you through that process and make sure that you're choosing something that's appropriate for the audience and you're not I don't want to use waste your time, but you could potentially be wasting your time putting together an article that may not be appropriate for that particular publication. But getting back to the concept map here, I put together an example based on a piece that I recently had published with RDH Magazine on geriatric awareness. So you just want to choose your main topic. And for this particular piece, it was based on being aware of our geriatric population. So I put that in a bubble, and that's my core topic. So I want everything else that I have to say in my piece to revolve around my core topic. Then I came up with 3 ideas that I want to support in my written piece. And for a piece like this, each idea is going to be a nice hefty paragraph. So the first idea that I had, if you look on the left here, is that oral health promotes healthy aging. So that was the first point that I wanted to make to support my core topic. The second idea that I had was to talk with my audience about serving this geriatric population with compassion. And then my third idea that I wanted to include in this piece was to encourage readers to be realistic with their with their treatment approach. And so, um, when it comes to this, what I really wanted to communicate to your readers is that the suggestions and the oral hygiene instructions that we have for maybe our pediatric patients or for our younger adult patients may not be appropriate for a patient that we have that's within that geriatric population. And so that was the direction that I was taking with that last idea. But being able to visually put together a framework for your written piece like this is going to help to make sure that, like I said, everything flows, it has direction, it makes sense. If you're not putting your piece together in some sort of organized fashion like this, what you can run into, and this is what I've seen a lot in my editorial role, I will have writers submit a written piece to me that has a lot of different ideas, and they don't necessarily flow together. The paragraphs kind of go off into these different tangents, and it's difficult to understand. And for the reader, you end up coming away from the article very confused and unsure of what the main point was, what the objectives were. And so being able to come to your written piece on the front end with a plan is going to help to make sure that your written piece is successful. So wrapping up here, published writing is a rewarding yet largely untapped experience for dental professionals. Now, any oral healthcare provider can achieve this milestone through personal research, planning, and by utilizing simple writing techniques. It really just takes a dream and maybe some support from your loved ones. Um, Again, for me, I really feel like my journey to becoming a published writer was in some ways kind of happenstance. And, and it really was propelled by just kind people who are willing to invest in me and give me advice. And now that's all I want to do to pay it forward as well. So on my last slide here, I have contact information if you'd like to reach out to me, ask me questions. I'm also happy to look at written pieces that maybe you've come up with. My email is listed here. It's bethanyrdh@outlook.com. So feel free to reach out to me there. And then I did sneak in a little QR code here for my social media brand. It's called Human RDH. And the purpose through my profile is I really want to help to encourage dental professionals in pursuing alternative career paths, professional development, mental health, interpersonal relationships. That's kind of my bread and butter. So I invite you to come connect with me on social media. And then lastly, I have my slide here with my references. I have a huge favor to ask each one of you. At the end of this presentation, you're going to see a link at the bottom of the screen here on the YouTube page, and it's a link for an evaluation that it would be so wonderful if you would help complete the evaluation. That helps me to know things that I can improve, things that could have been different, or things that I did well. And I appreciate you taking the time to watch and listen to the presentation. I really do welcome your communication too. If you're really interested in pursuing writing personally, let's connect so that I can help you with that. I hope you all have a great day and take care.